to any listeners, having the experience of losing a child is really heartbreaking, and even more than heartbreaking, it's absurd. Like there's nothing that would explain that a kid can just come and go away that quickly. It doesn't make sense. But that led me to slowly um, looking for, I would say, alternative way or meeting people that would have a different um, understanding on how the body can work.
Welcome to Beyond the Pain, the podcast that explores what it really takes to break free from chronic pain and reclaim your life. I'm your host, Lee Brandon, and someone who's spent over 2 decades helping people get to the root cause of pain that no one else could explain. Whether you're dealing with long-term back issues, joint pain, nerve discomfort, or mysterious symptoms that just won't go away, this show is here to help you go deeper. Because beyond the pain, there's clarity, strength, and power waiting for you. Each week, we'll uncover the physical, emotional, biochemical, and energetic causes of pain and how to transform them. Let's dive deep into this week's episode. Energy healing is one of those subjects that can divide opinion very quickly. For some people, it sounds strange, unscientific, or even a bit too woo-woo. For others, it may have been the thing that helped them when nothing else seemed to work. But as I often say, perhaps some of what we call woo-woo is simply what science has not yet learned how to measure. In this episode of Beyond the Pain, I'm speaking with Romain Daumont, the founder of Luminara Care, a platform designed to connect people with carefully vetted energy healing practitioners. Romain's journey into this work did not begin in the world of health. He originally worked in consulting, supply chain, and the digital startup space. But after the heartbreaking loss of his son Rafael, shortly after birth, he began to see silence, presence, and human connection in a very different way. That experience eventually led him to create Helo, an app designed to help people share moments of silence together, even when physically apart. But his work later developed into something much broader as he began exploring collective meditation, remote healing, biofield therapies, and the emerging science around energy healing. In this conversation, we discuss how energy healing may support people with chronic pain, trauma, anxiety, depression, and cancer-related pain, while also being honest that it does not work for everyone and that practitioner quality, ethics, consent, and trust matter enormously. We also talk about what the mainstream model may be missing when it comes to persistent pain, why pain is not simply something to suppress, and why the body's symptoms may sometimes be better understood as communication. This is a fascinating conversation about grief, silence, pain, the nervous system, emotional healing, the biofield, science, skepticism, and why the future of healthcare may need to become much more integrative. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Romain Daumont. Romain, welcome to Beyond the Pain. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Lee.
I'm sure I just butchered your name, but don't worry about that. We'll crack on. Most people butcher my name, actually, or say most people. A lot of Americans butcher my name. They find it difficult to know how to pronounce it, but it's all good. We know who we are.
Exactly.
So to kick things off, could you share a little bit about your story, your journey, and how you came to do the work that you're doing today?
Well, thank you for asking. That's that's a big question, but I'll try to answer with as much honesty and meaningful details as possible. So, yeah, my story is the one of French guy, grew up in France, 2 French parents, but decided to start working abroad. And I did a business school, um, worked in Tokyo at the end of the last century, right?
Mm.
Makes you feel old. um, and had a pretty successful career between France and Japan for about 16 years um, in consulting. So I was in consulting, was in supply chain, purchasing, procurement, nothing that would lead to where I am right now. And I met my wife now 22 years ago, and we had a first baby boy in 2010. Um, we had the um, yeah, the excitement is not exactly the right word, but we went through Fukushima back in 2011. We went through Fukushima, but we had planned to leave Japan. So anyhow, we moved back to France after meeting in Japan and having our first baby boy in Japan. But in 2014, I, my wife and I discovered that we had a problem with our second child in the womb. We discovered that um, something odd was happening, and it was that the kidneys would grow exponentially. So we did a further analysis and discovered that something very unique was happening. My wife and I are not blood related. She's British Indian. I am French, although you could argue a bit of a mix, but definitely not from India. And we had a gene, the very same gene that was mutated for a different reason, which led to a 1 out of 4 chances of having giving birth to a kid with a genetic disease, right? That's how you catch a genetic disease, and without knowing about it, obviously, we had no idea, and that is very rare. Um, if you're obviously marrying your cousin, that's a different story.
Mm.
But in our case, it's literally like throwing a coin in London and asking you to find it. It's actually very rare, and that um, led us to have a kid with a polycystic kidney disease. And so we gave this boy a chance, this little Rafael, but he transitioned after 3 days. So obviously, to any listeners having the experience of losing a child is really heartbreaking, and
Mm.
even more than heartbreaking, it's absurd. Like there's nothing that would explain that a kid can just come and go away that quickly. It doesn't make sense. But that led me to slowly um, looking for, I would say, alternative way or meeting people that would have a different um, understanding on how the body can work, and that planted some seeds. Let's put it this way. But the one big seed that I discovered that really still today is very dear to my heart is that I had a quite um, new approach to silence. Um, Silence, I thought, was very scary when you you expect a baby that will have a problem. You don't know what to say to people, and people don't know what to tell you. So there is this very, elephant in the room, which is made of silence, and you don't know what to say about it.
Mm.
And oddly enough, during the funeral, I had a almost like a moment of bliss because it was all clear. It was all, there was nothing to hide. I mean, this kid passed away. Um, but the presence of people around you and the sheer presence without saying a word, because there's really no words that are meaningful in these
Mm.
moments. Really gave me a lot of joy. Like I felt the presence of others without any words. And I thought to myself, isn't it interesting that I feel almost like so much love and joy at a moment of grief, and thinking, taking a bit of a bird's eye view, I thought, all right, well, when do we actually gather as a species in silence? Well, let's put aside religions because this is very specific to different groups, but as a species, like really at humanity level. And there's one thing, Lee, that you probably did is, we do at a country level, or even at you could argue at a global level, a moment of silence or a minute of silence because of a terrorist attack, right? Something sad happened. And so we gather and I wouldn't say we pray, but we honor, we just gather ourselves and make communion somehow. And I thought, well, that's good, but can't we gather in silence just to be together? Like not just because of a terrorist attack, which when you think about it, it's kind of sad, right? Why not for something happier? So, and that stuck to my mind. I thought, well, there must be ways we could just do it um, for joyful reasons and not just waiting for the next terrorist attack to enjoy or to feel this way. All right. So I thought about that, but that again, that planted a seed, and I continued my career. I went on consulting. We had the joy of having a third boy, James, in 2017, and and then I stopped consulting in 2017, actually, the year he was born, and I started to dive into the digital space. I kind of had this on the back of my mind for quite a while, and really the digital world is the defining sort of industry of our times, right? So I thought, all right, let's go into it. So I really changed career, started to work for a couple of digital startups, one in the field of augmented reality, another one in a SaaS model on photography and videography at scale. And in 2020, COVID year, I thought, all right, let's actually, we all had a bit of free time, right? And extra time. And I thought, all right, let me start on this crazy idea I had in 2014 about creating this this way of gathering people around silence. And so I started to conceive an app called Helo. So obviously a pun between to heal and to say hello. That would be pretty much at the crossroad between WhatsApp and Headspace, or Calm. Calm, which was done by some British gentleman, and and I started to build this product, to design this product in 2021, and essentially, and I launched it end of 21. The idea was simply that we have voice, we could call people through WhatsApp or usual BT, whatever. We have text. Um, you're not going to communicate through two senses, which is smell and taste. But the third one, the fifth one, sorry, which is touch. I thought that's one that we could use because, as we all know and appreciate, a hug, a handshake, something meaningful and something we like,
Mm.
and it goes beyond words. So I thought, all right, let's create an app where people would just have to touch the screen of their phones for 30 seconds in a row. So 30 seconds because we share a moment of silence. You do 30 seconds, I do 30 seconds. So we meet in the middle. And you would touch the screen of your phone and hold it which essentially makes your phone like a brick. You can't flick through anything. You have to stay uh, concentrated and silent, and you don't have to say a word. And you could be in real time with your friends, or you could just send some love, some positive vibes without having this person in sync. And at the end, you would sign, you would do a scribble, a doodle, a little drawing that would be the trace of this moment. So I thought about that, and I put a lot of efforts in creating that, more like a work of art rather than just business, uh, like a strict business per se. And in 2022, I decided to look for the product market fit, and I started pitching some not-for-profits because, as I often say, Lee, you don't wake up one morning thinking, "Gosh, I feel like giving to Oxfam this morning." Doesn't really work that way. You kind of have a way for your generosity to be triggered, and these NGOs manage to do that through an event. Could be a charity auction, charity run, charity concert. So there is somehow a momentum that they create to do that. And I thought, well, a moment of silence is actually a really nice event. It's a small event, yet it's powerful, and you don't have to travel. Anyone can do it because we know have these smartphones, and I was pitching them, saying, well, look for a small, meaningful digital online event that you can have at scale with all of your community, and they loved it. They thought that's very thoughtful, and we love the idea of bringing something positive to the world as well. But I was telling them, and I was quite convinced about that, that we would need a celebrity to endorse this moment because that's the way we work. And and I also very often give this example of it's not you and me, Lee, on stage for a charity concert that are going to bring a lot of people, right? I mean, I don't know how good a singer you are, or
Terrible.
or guitar player, whatever. Yeah, you
Yeah,
see,
terrible.
people want famous people. They want the Billie Eilish, the Lana Del Rey, etc., etc. So I thought, all right, let's really insist that I bring all the tech, they bring the celebrity. And we all know that NGOs are often endorsed by these famous people, um, and and they chickened out. They were like, "Yeah, sure, sounds great," and we understand that celebrity would be nice, but long story short, I did one event with Movember, which is quite well known in the UK, originated in Australia and went global. And so I happened to become friend with Stéphane Beaumont, who's the ambassador of Movember in France, and who loved Helo. And he said, "All right, Roman, let's do this." So we've done that, and for a month, every week, we would gather. It was November 22, and we would do these moments of silence, just happy moments, and just bringing positive energy. Um, and obviously, yeah, I haven't mentioned about this, but we would nudge people to give some money at the end of this moment of silence as well. So silence, time, everyone can give time. We all have 24 hours a day. But obviously we'd say, hey, by the way, thank you so much for giving your time and positive energy. But if you could spare 5, 10, 11, whatever pounds you have, that'd be amazing. And this is from November, etc., etc. Um, and so we did that, and that was amazing. I felt very strongly that something was happening when we would gather, even no matter how remote people would be. There was something positive, and we would visualize everything with circles of colors. So your avatar on the app is a circle of color. So very, very beautiful, very simple, nothing extravagant. Just yeah, the beauty of simplicity, as we say. Um, and I just really loved it, and I was so grateful for Stéphane and Movember France to embrace that idea, crazy idea. And here I am, December 22, quite exhausted really because um, it takes a lot of courage and energy to push through a new idea, a new concept in a world which is not very open to innovation. The NGOs, they're great, but kind of stick to their old habits. And I had set this intention in 2022, which was studying the science. And we're coming to Luminara and what I'm doing right now. I was really, and I know you're also very much into science, what is the power and what has science demonstrated around the power of collective meditation and also remote healing. Like I felt we were doing some good to ourselves and to the others and potentially to the world when we gather and just like almost like emitting good vibes for quite a while. I mean, 30 seconds doesn't seem long, but it's a bit long by today's standards. And I thought science must have some answers. There must be people that have studied all of that. This, and I set this intention, but I wanted to start only in 2023 because I was quite exhausted. And what happened is that in 2023, 2nd of Jan, a friend of mine from Romania asking me to meet his fiance because they were in Paris for just a week. Um, and I said, all right, I'll meet you. He was very much insisting on me coming on 2nd of Jan, and I was in Annecy in the Alps on the 1st, so I couldn't do it any earlier than that. And he's so excited. He's introducing me to Anna, his fiance, and he proposed to her, but she said, "Well, we're still in negotiation." So I'm like, "Wait a second. You said you bought the rings at Cartier on the top of the Champs-Élysées, and now I just hear her saying we're still in negotiation. That doesn't sound very positive. So how long have you met? How many months? How many years?" And guess what they said?
No idea. Not very long.
2 weeks.
Wow.
So already this evening was quite strange because how many people do we know that are actually going to meet someone and 2 weeks after are actually buying the rings and proposing? That doesn't make sense. And the guy's in his late 50s, so he's not
Mm.
a young chicken of 20 years of age just being horny and just wanting to mate like there's no tomorrow. No, so very, very odd. And so I'm really looking at her thinking, who are you and how come my friend fell in love with you so badly? And she's into tech, she's into fintech. She has a PhD in economic science. She has a friend who has a PhD in mathematics, and she created this startup looking at how to predict the um, the stock um, the listed company stocks, which if you manage to do this will make you very very rich. Um, and so she's very grounded. She looks very smart. Um, and I tell her about what I'm going to do, which is reading about the science of collective meditation and remote healing. And then she's telling me, well, I healed my mom. Maybe you want to know the story. And I'm like, what? Sure. What happened? And 10 years back, she's telling me that she went through a divorce. She has two kids, two young kids at the time. And she's actually writing her PhD, trying to, but it's really hard. Uh, and she's asking her mom to come help her. Her mom is willing to do that. She's living in the countryside of Romania, and everything is perfect because now mom is at home. She's helping. It's all very smooth and beautiful, and she can work on her essay until her mom is having a bike accident and breaks one of her legs. So the doctors are not very positive. Well, the mom is not young; she's not a spring chicken, and so they're saying, well, because of the cost, the muscles will really be very much affected, and she will have to do a lot of physio. Basically, don't think your mom will be back on her feet quite literally before a good 6 months. Like she will be pretty much helpless for the next 6 months. Well, it depends on how fast she can heal. But yeah, that's the situation right now. And so that's the worst case scenario for Anna because not only she's back to square one, but also she has to take care of her mom who's bedridden. So like
Mm.
she has to do everything for even changing her, and I mean it's just insanely difficult. Um, and she's of course feeling a lot of guilt on top of everything, and so she's going through what people would call a dark night of the soul, almost like really this moments where you feel totally lost. You feel a lot of pain, a lot of sadness, and you just don't see how you're going to manage this.
Mm.
It's just everything is crumbling. And this is when she's kicking back from the bottom of the ocean and tells her mom, "Mom, you know what? I'm going to heal you. I'll do something." And she had read some books about the power of positive visualization, which is not woo woo, right? I mean, every
Mm.
athletes are doing this, every even businesswomen, businessmen. I mean, people do that all the time. Um, and so she's doing this after the kids are in bed, next to her mom, focusing on her leg and visualizing the leg in perfect condition. Every bones, every ligaments, muscles, tissues, everything. And she's on top of this, she's telling me that she would see light and love. I'm trying to, not just visualizing, but almost like acting like a surgeon, almost like trying to repair everything. And she's doing this for 20 minutes every night, and and it works. Out of she's doing this with a lot of, I guess, confidence, but also just sheer, just the best she could. Um, and it works in the sense that, of course, the mom doesn't stand up and just start tap dancing, but um, she feels that it's getting better quickly, feels some tingling, and long story short, she's actually, yeah, literally short. She's shortening a lot the outcome that was predicted by the doctors. She's back on her feet after 3 months rather than 6. So quite some amazement in the family. Uh, she becomes a bit of a legend and helps her grandmother, and but then again she went on and continued her PhD, etc., etc. But for me, Lee, listening to this story at this very moment in my life, and at this moment was a no short of a hell of a synchronicity. I really felt like someone was tapping on my shoulder and saying, "Well, Roman, you wanted to read the science about collective meditation and remote healing. Well, here is Anna. She's not woo woo. She's a serious, quite impressive academic, um, with an academic background, a woman, um, an entrepreneur that had all the, you know, she would tick all the boxes of the career woman that I would very much um, respect and feel highly of. So, but she did what she did, and she's not lying. You could feel this is not a YouTube video. She's real, and yeah, she's done that. This is real. And for me, at this moment, I had never done any energy healing session in my life. I didn't. I kind of knew a little bit about it, but I had never experienced it. I was quite neutral, but not more curious than that. And I felt at this moment that, wow, this is true, this is effective, and I was convinced that this is important. Like how come the world doesn't know about that? Like I to this day, like I know this is real, but I thought, how come we're not, this is important. Like this is crazy. You could shorten something by 50% through this practice. So I started exploring in 2023 the world of what is called energy healing or biofield therapies, and I looked at the market and I discovered that a good 80% of these practitioners they have a business through word of mouth. Word of mouth, great, but it doesn't scale. Like you're lucky if you know someone who knows someone, etc. Excuse me. And I looked at what was out there, and marketplaces, there are a few, I thought were not really working for the clients because the business model is really about having as many healers, as many practitioners as possible. And sometimes you really don't care so much about the quality, right? It's really about having people subscribing, paying 50 quid to 100 quid per month to be registered on the platform. And then off you go, put your pictures, we'll give you a system that synchronizes with your agenda and you can be paid, etc. Well, it's um, it's all right. I'm not saying it doesn't serve some purpose, but it's really not meant to be helping you finding the best. Like it's just this is a jungle. Good luck. Look for who will potentially be good, and the quality is just very poor in many instances because some people put good pictures, some put bad pictures. I mean, it's a bit of a kaleidoscope of random, qualitative um, image, and it's. I found it quite disgusting, to be honest. Not all the marketplaces are like that, but quite a few. So I thought there must be a different way, and I think we need trust. This is a non-regulated market, and trust is the pillar of everything that can grow in life, right? So, how do you create trust in a non-regulated market? Well, we need to create a brand, and we need to create a strong brand because we take accountability, we have integrity, and we do what the market currently doesn't do, which is curation. The same way you wouldn't let any surgeon uh, becoming part of your clinic, well, you try to raise the quality of your staff in a clinic. Well, you want to create a clinic where you don't allow any and every practitioner um, to be part of your team. So I started exploring creating an advisory board of people that knew about energy healing, some amazing women that I am very, very glad to have around me. And then we started thinking about how we could curate these people. And we found a way, and I can talk about this later. And that has proven very effective. So we're handpicking or heart picking, as I like to say, some really good people. And we've built a product, which is a telehealth platform. And so Luminara, Luminara.care is the name of the platform. It's live since 25. So 23 was the year where I started to get to the fact that this is important and there is a business to do, which is a business model similar to what you find in, for art galleries or for talent agencies for models or actresses. So people won't accept everyone and anyone, and the length of your diplomas do not matter as much in some fields like actor. You could have a big actor studio, but really it's your talent. Same for an artist. Um, so we started designing the product in 23. We had a private beta in 24. I've raised some money, and in end of 24, we fine-tuned the product and launched in 25. And so we've been in business since a bit more than a year now. It's growing steadily. And the one last thing I'd like to add is that um, I've met end of 24 some people funding science around energy healing. They're based in the US and they're around a collective called the Settle Energy Founders Collective. So think about these people as strong advocates of these practices, these modalities, which, by the way, exists in Asia for thousands of years. Like the meridians in acupuncture are energy points. The chakras in Ayurvedic medicines are energy points in this Indian medicine. And so these people are big advocates and they fund science. And they're going to release a docu-series called Phenomena. You could check it out, phenomenahealing.com. And they were looking for platforms because they knew that it's one thing to fund science, it's another to release and to produce a docuseries, a documentary. But the next step is really about giving accessibility, right? Because you can't just have people very excited about this, thinking, oh my God, I got to try, and then telling them, well, good luck now. That would sound quite cruel, right? So they were looking for platforms to partner with. And I got to meet Jason, who's one of the founder of this collective. And he was like, sure, that what you're doing is very interesting, very interesting. So they tested our platform was in April last year, about a year ago, really. A couple of their team members tried and they liked it. Obviously, they liked it because in July last year, they said, well, Roman, we've tried about a bit less than a dozen platforms, and you're really the only one we want to partner with. So I must have done something good and something aligned with their standards, and their standards are pretty high, but mine are as well. Like I really didn't want to compromise on quality, and I had a business model that was actually quite different from any other business model. Long story short, again, I happen now to collaborate with them, and I'm very proud to say that I'm now partnering with the Florida State University in Tallahassee, and we're helping move science forward with all the people accepting to be enrolled in this study. But we have a ongoing study with this university, and they have a lab called the CHILL, the Complementary Health Innovation Lab, and we are proposing pre and post surveys in the flow of doing a session on our platform that can evaluate the power and how efficient is energy healing for chronic pain, for reducing trauma, for many, many issues, physical, mental, emotional. And there is the famous, pain VAS. And how much is your pain right
Mm.
now? And how much is your pain after? So we monitor that. Um, and so we're essentially part now of one of the largest ever done study on energy healing ever. And the beauty of this study is that people are not recruited. Oftentimes you would pay people to come to the premises, and we don't pay people. They actually do pay. They have an intention of feeling better. So
Mm.
there's no bias, and they're not forced to do the study. They can enroll or not, but they're just doing it out of courtesy and the desire to help science move forward. That's all. So it's quite pure from a scientific point of view. And we're very excited. And the results we're seeing are, I can't disclose much right now, but we're seeing definitely some very meaningful results from pre and post session. And yeah, and happy to talk more about the benefits of energy healing to your audience. But that's the story.
Awesome. Great. So the first question is, if you're finding this conversation interesting, this is very much the kind of territory I explore in my new book, Beyond the Pain. One of the central ideas in the book is that persistent pain is rarely caused by one thing alone. It may involve structural issues, metabolic stress, nervous system regulation, unresolved emotional trauma, or a combination of all four. And that's why simply trying to suppress the pain is not always enough. Sometimes we need to understand what the body is trying to communicate. So if you're living with chronic pain, or you're a practitioner who wants a broader way of thinking about pain, Beyond the Pain is available now in paperback and ebook. You'll find the links in the show notes. Did your Romanian friends get married?
I love this. I love this, Lee. Well, here are the latest news. I had a chat with Lionel, uh, who's the gentleman. Um, they were still together earlier this year, but it doesn't seem that it's going so well, and they haven't got married. No. And to be honest, I'll add this. At the end of this conversation I had back in 2023, I was blown away, right? And I looked at Yunel and I said, well, Yunel, I wish you the best, and hopefully you'll get married. But I have to tell you something. And I dared to say this, which was quite bold to say. I said, thank you so much. I hope for the best. But I have to tell you, I really feel that you brought her to me. I,
Mm,
I'm very grateful, but I feel you very much like a messenger.
mm,
You know, you served me. I summoned her, and you kind of brought her to me. So I, I think at the time he was so happy that he didn't quite grasp what I was experiencing anyway. But yeah, I remember daring saying this because everything felt so odd and him falling in love so madly after 2 weeks. And these 2 weeks were really this moment I had this intention growing inside of me. So it's almost like, you know, whatever you want to call it, the universe, the divine, the source, just um, heard me and just manifested this in Romania and having my friend bringing her to me. So it was really quite something. But
mm,
yeah, I must say they didn't get married. This is not
yeah,
a super happy ending for them.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Awesome. I'm sure I asked that question because I'm sure there's people watching or listening to this thinking, yeah, what happened? What happened?
What happened?
Like a TV show kind of thing. So getting back to the subject specifically about pain,
Yes.
obviously there'll be people watching and listening to this that have been stuck in the chronic pain cycle for many years. You know, they might have seen specialists, taken medications, maybe had surgery, and they're still in pain. From what you've learned through building Luminara and working with practitioners and clients, what do you think the mainstream model is fundamentally missing about persistent pain?
Well, what I can tell you for sure is that it's working. Like it is, there are full, um, um, let's say, fields, reason ailments, yeah, ailments um, that um, energy healing can help with, and they are for them. So, chronic pain is one of them. Trauma, depression is another. Cancer-related pain, um, and the last one is well, it's anxiety, depression. Sorry, trauma and anxiety, depression, quite different. I mean, one can be related to the other, but so for these, this is working. Now, some listeners may think, I've tried and it didn't work on me. And it can happen. It's not yet clear on how this is working. So science is catching up, but it's not as if you're taking a tablet of uh, ibuprofen and this is gonna work like this. And yet, even for ibuprofen, you take the same quantity for you and for me may not work the same, exactly the same, and as quickly as so. So what I would say is um, two things. First of all, it doesn't always work. Now, it depends also on the quality of the practitioner, right? Because the next step is if we all agree that okay, this is working, fine, fine, Roman. Now, who is good? Like, it's not about if, it's who. Like, who should I see? Like
Mm.
when we go see, we have a problem with our teeth. We want to go see a good dentist, right? We don't want to see any dentists. So that's the next very, very good question. And it's a hard one to answer because there were no standards. So we are, and I'm not saying this, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying as a commercial, I'm not trying to advertise Luminara. And if there were other platforms as Luminara, I'd be very happy to talk about them. But it seems like there are not so many of us. But find a good one. And the good ones, um, they maybe not the ones that are the best at marketing themselves. That's kind of the problem.
Mm.
Because whenever you don't have something regulated, it's really about getting attention. And we know this war for attention. And
Mm.
so you're going to be, and we've all been there, scrolling on whatever Instagram or Facebook or whatever YouTube. And we end up being, our attention is caught because of, you know, the art of FOMO, the art of psychologically pressing the right buttons at the right time during the night, and we end up buying something or subscribing to something, although we're like, damn it, what have I done? Um, so, and when people are in pain, they are at risk because they are in a state where they really want help, they need help. So they may be caught, their attention may be caught more easily
Mm.
by people that are really good at letting them think that they have the answer. So I'm coming here saying, I don't pretend that this is going to cure you, but if you find the right practitioner, it can really, really help chronic pain. It's very effective, and science is catching up, showing that it has an impact on the vagus nerve. It has an impact on parasympathetic system. Um, how does it do that? Well, still a bit of a mystery, but um, these therapies are called biofield therapy because there is this idea of a field around us, energetic field that is alive. It's bio, it's live. Is it visible by our eyes? No, but then again, there's so many things our eyes can't see that animals can
Mm.
see, and so
Mm.
we should get away from seeing is believing. Um,
Well, people can't see Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and
But it
it
exists.
exists.
Exists, right? People can't see Bluetooth, but it exists, right?
Yeah. So so now science really shows that this is effective. Now, will it be effective on you? I don't know, but my advice is try it with an open mind and try it with someone good. So look for either through word of mouth, look for someone that you know has helped a friend, and I'm sure a lot of people with chronic pains, they have this associations of people suffering, and they can, or you go through Luminara. We can get really amazing people. I'll give you a very simple example. Um, my wife, um, and by the way, um, don't think I'm cruel. I just want to state this. I'm not cruel to people, but my wife was suffering from back pain, and back pain is a bit of a bitch, right? Because it's hard to point exactly where it's coming from. It's nagging you all the time, all the time. It's really, really annoying chronic pain, and you just don't want tablets all the time. It's not good. It's not healthy. My wife is definitely not into having too many tablets. And so in September last year, um, I could feel that she was in pain. And every morning, you wake up and you it just feels heavy and painful, and you almost don't feel like waking up. It's really starting to nag your mental state. And and so I was looking at her, and she was feeling quite miserable. And at some point, I had this woman from Canada in Yukon. You see where Yukon is?
No, I don't know where that is.
It's kind of bordering Alaska,
Right.
really far out, like properly far out. And and she contacted us. Now we get some popularity. And by the way, if anyone knows a good healer, uh, send me an email to Roman, Romain, at luminara.care. I'm happy to consider, but we don't have a subscription form. Um, we vet healers our own way, and we're really into quality. But anyway, there was this healer who knocked at her door saying, I saw your website. I would love to be part of your community. All right. So we did consider her, and at some point we thought, all right, no, she's definitely amazing. So let's vet this woman. And she was the very last healer of 2025 to be vetted. And I'm telling my wife, she's not on the platform yet, but we know she's amazing. Would you consider having an energy healing session with her? And she's so much in pain that she's like, hell yeah. But she's not a strong believer, whatever. But
Mm,
pain talks, right? You
yeah.
just want to
It's a
get rid of it.
motivator.
Yeah. She's agreeing. So I have to make sure the healer knows that she's happy to receive, right? This is very
Mm,
important.
yeah.
Never do a healing without the person being very much happy to, because this is kind of the way you can enter this energetic body for the healer. So my wife is recording a message. I record my wife. She, yeah, sure, this is my pain. I can't really tell you why, but yeah, be happy to have something. All right. And so this is on a Friday, and my healer, uh, and this is quite insane when you think about it. She says, I'm working not only remotely, but I don't have to work in sync. Like your wife doesn't have to do anything. I'll work when
Mm.
she's asleep.
Yeah.
So I think I gave this message to the healer on a Friday. Next day, uh, my wife um, was not feeling well anyway. So she's, I asked her, do you feel anything? Because she had worked on the Friday night. My wife said, no, but I feel so bad. I have so many problems right now that I wouldn't tell you if I feel better. All right. And one thing happened, which is very surprising to me, is my wife had a nap. She never has naps, and she had a nap on the Saturday. And I left a message to Jenny. Jenny is the name of the healer on the Saturday night, saying, "Hey Jenny, my wife doesn't feel any different, but one thing that's funny that she took a nap, which she's never ever doing. So probably it's because of you, right?" And I got a message the day after, and she said, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely, it's me. I worked on her quite for some time. Now I have to tell you as well that it doesn't work on the same day; it works the day after, fourth night. Okay, makes sense. No, Sunday's happening, and my wife is waking up, and she's like, I she didn't want to judge too fast. Like, sometimes pain is engraved in your body memory, although it
Mm.
may have disappeared. Like, there is a bit of a gap between the moment the pain is gone, the moment you actually realize it's gone. So she's kind of in this limbo, but she feels something. And I had to travel on the Monday morning. So I call her, um, and she's like, yeah, it's pretty much gone. And and she had another issue. She had a tendonitis on one of her arm. That didn't go. And she's not doing physio, and this is most likely due to menopause. But the part regarding the back pain was gone.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know my background, but I studied the body talk system back in the mid 2000s, and more recently, I've studied the emotion code and the body code, which are all forms of energy medicine.
Yep.
And I've had many stories like that. I mean, sometimes not necessarily one session and everything's fine, but
Right.
um, it might take 4 or 5, 6 sessions, and each time, in the emotion code and the body code, one of the things we're kind of taught to do is to say, right, what's the issue you want to work on today? Okay, how much of that is a problem for you on a scale of 0 to 10? Right. So they might come to you and they say, oh, it's a 9. Right. Okay, great. And sometimes at the end of the session, you say, right, and how is it feeling now? Let's say, it's lower back pain. And you might say, right, get up out of your chair, have a move around. How does it feel now? And it might start at a 9. It might even finish at a 9. Or it
Yeah.
might start as a 9 and might be a 6. Or it might be a 9 and it might be a 0 afterwards. Right. But generally, what I've experienced is over time, each session. So, they might see you on session 5, let's say, and you say, "Oh, how are you doing?" "Oh, yeah, my back pain doesn't feel any different from the beginning." Okay, great. So, where are you on the scale of 0 to 10? "Oh, it's about a 6." And you think, "Yeah, but in session 1, you said it was 9." Right? So, people often forget as well. Like, they often forget their improvement. Um, but there have been times when you know, you do say session 1, 2, and 3, and yeah, it's gradually coming down. And then fourth session, you get a message saying, "Oh, my pain's all completely gone, and I feel amazing." Right. So there's lots of stories like that. And sometimes, I'm going to be completely open. You might do 5, 6 sessions with someone, and they're like, hasn't changed. It doesn't mean it's not working. Right. So I always look at, these forms of energy medicine. Sometimes it's like peeling an onion, and you have to peel the outer layers before you can get to the core. Um, so sometimes, from the client perspective, you do need to be a little bit patient as well, particularly if, you've had quite a traumatic life. Sometimes quite a lot to unreal as well. Um, but yeah, I completely kind of back up
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Two things I've heard, which are a little bit hard to accept. One is healers may say, well, if after healers are really confident about their skills, like they're. By the way, let's just for the sake of this discussion, let's assume like we're talking about really proper people that do their things right and they're skillful, etc. All right. So these people would say, well, if I don't manage to make you feel better and reduce your pain after 3 sessions, there's probably some kind of emotional attachment to your pain. Right? That's one thing I've heard, which is, well, yeah. So first thing. So, and the second thing I've heard also is healers saying, well, you have a treatment that is pretty heavy. Um, like I know, and by the way, disclaimer here, I don't pretend you should stop your cancer treatment by any shape and form, but sometimes you have a, a chemio as a preventive, like it's a preventive chemio. It's kind of, medicine is doing this quite often. Like you seem okay, but we'll just put
Mm,
a lot of pills into your body just in case, which is which is not great, honestly,
mm,
but it's done. And so this woman came to see a healer, and the healer said, and she was in pain, like he was in really big pain. The healer said, "I'm sorry, but your body is so full of chemicals right now that, and I don't want you to stop that because, but it's gonna be hard for me to do much with all these things you have because your body is just all over the place. So, so there is only so much that you can do in some circumstances."
yeah, yeah. And again, it depends on, again, there are different modalities of energy healing as well,
True.
right? It might be that there are some that might be able, so for instance, you mentioned there's some emotional thing getting in the way, like they've got an emotional attachment to pain. Well, some forms of energy medicine will work on that emotional thing, right?
Absolutely.
So, so yeah, sometimes it's getting the right protocol for you as well. But just going back to the original question, what do
Sure.
you feel like the mainstream medical model is tends to miss when it comes to persistent pain?
Well, I think it's missing in some ways, but some clinics are advanced. So think about cancer. So cancer can cause a tremendous amount of pain through laser, chemio, etc. I've been studying a lot, how do our Western medicine tackle pain? And what I've seen is some clinics being more advanced than others. So first of all, my answer is it's not um, it's everything is not equal. Depending on where you will land and the doctors that will take care of you, you'll have a very different experience on how pain is managed.
Mm,
And if you take the example of Mayo Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, these are a very famous brand in the US, Mayo. They're the top league of hospitals, clinics in the US. Um, and if you type in integrative oncology, already you have integrative oncology, which is something very interesting. Right? What does it
mm,
say? It says that the most advanced clinics will take care of the patient in many different aspects of who they are. So there's not just giving you more pills. This is very much like the old way, but they will bring you acupuncturists. They will bring you Reiki masters. They will bring you massage therapists. They will bring you a lot of different ways to address your pain, your body, your mental state, your emotional states, so that you feel heard, you feel listened, you feel, that the cancer is just one part of what we're treating, but we need to give you, well, for the short of a better word, need to give you love. We need to give you compassion. We need to give you um, ways to feel you good and alive and desire to get rid of this cancer.
mm,
Because cancers are somehow a symptom as well, right? It's not
mm.
just
Yeah.
like, oh, unlucky, you're no, it's so this holistic approach is something I would highly value and recommend for people to look for, because we need collectively to move um, to move medicine forward. And to do that, we need to be ourselves looking for the ones that are the most progressive and the one looking at things in a holistic way. So yeah, so it's your question means that there are actually clinics doing it right. There are clinics doing it wrong. Now let's really look for the ones doing it right so that this becomes the standard.
Mm. Yeah, I like the fact that you mentioned the word holistic. What the way that I look at, let's call it the mainstream medical approach to pain, is to suppress it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in pain. Please take my pain away from me. Right. It's kind of it's the attitude that most people have, because that's the attitude people have been conditioned to have. Right. Pain is bad. Take it away. Right. But I see pain as a blessing, as a danger warning signal, as a communication, as a teacher. That's what I see pain as. So when you're cutting off the communication pathway by suppressing the communication, you're preventing the conscious mind learning what the subconscious is trying to tell you.
This is so true.
Right. So that for me is key. And what's interesting, when you mentioned about all the different modalities to help people with pain, around the time that this episode comes out, my latest book, which is also called Beyond the Pain, will be coming out. So it will probably just have come out just before this episode. So it's perfect timing. But in the book, I talk about 4 potential causes of pain. Now, there might be more, but I think these kind of sum them up. One is structural, right? If there's a structural abnormality, they can lead to pain. Now, I know there are instances where there are structural abnormalities and there is no pain. I'm very aware of that as well. But I still firmly believe, based on the last 25 years of my work, that structural abnormalities can cause pain. The second one is metabolic issues. So, we can get into things like, diet, inflammation, toxicity, etc. The third main is nervous system regulation. If you've got a dysregulated nervous system, quite often from structural abnormalities, also metabolic issues, if there's toxins in the body, but it can also be emotional. So they're all inputting danger signals into the nervous system. The nervous system is now heightened. It's on high alert. It's looking for danger. Well, what's the communication pathway of danger? It's pain, right? So if someone's got a dysregulated nervous system, they could feel pain when the person stood next to them is going through the same experience, not experiencing any pain at all, right? Because they've got a more regulated nervous system. And then the fourth one is unresolved emotional trauma, right? And it doesn't have to be a major issue to be trauma, right? And a lot of it probably comes from the first 7 years of life as well, when our brains are very much subconscious. And again, the brilliant book by Dr. Bruce Lipton, I think I read it about 22 years ago. I can't remember exactly when it was written, but that really highlights how open our minds are as children to stuff, and we don't really get the opportunity to say yes or no to whatever's going on, and it becomes hardwired in our subconscious system. So I completely agree that quite often a holistic approach is required. And whilst I'm not suggesting pain medication doesn't have its place, it definitely does. I think there's a lot of overuse. I mean, just have to look at what's gone on in America with the opioid crisis, right? And a little story, I've mentioned this before a number of times on the show, but I'll share it with you. In 2013, I ruptured 2 discs in my lumbar spine. And, there's back pain. I had sciatic symptoms. I had a drop foot, pins and needles, numbness in my left leg. Couldn't walk properly, couldn't sit. I was debilitated. And I wanted to get an MRI scan just to confirm what I thought had happened. Because, you have things called dermatomes. And based on the symptoms, I could tell it was to do with my L4 and L5 discs. But I just wanted to confirm, and also to confirm it wasn't more serious than I thought it might be. So, went to my GP to get a referral for an MRI, and at the end of the consultation, he said, "Yeah, fine, I'll refer you." And even though we have a taxpayer-funded health system, I still had to pay out of pocket to get an MRI scan. But he said to me, "I'm going to prescribe you painkillers and anti-inflammatories." And I said, "Oh, no, don't worry, I'm not going to take them." And he looked at me like I was crazy, man. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, "Well, I know if I go into spinal flexion, it increases the pain. The pain's telling me not to move into that position, right? Because I'm basically putting more pressure on the anterior disc, which is pushing it posteriorly, which is where the problem was. I want to know if I'm creating more damage to my discs. So I want to feel the pain." And he just looked at me like I was talking Chinese or something.
From a different planet.
And we had a back and forth about, and I kept saying, "Well, look, I'm not going to take them." And he's saying, "Yeah, but I have to write the prescription." And I'm saying, "But I'm not going to take them." And in the end, he said, "Look, as your doctor, I have to prescribe it." So he gave me the prescription, and I just folded it neatly. And as I was leaving his office, I just put it in the waste paper bin, because I knew I wasn't going to take them, because I wanted to experience the communication my nervous system was giving me to protect myself. That's what pain is all about. It's about protecting yourself. There's a brilliant book called The Gift of Pain, right? Because if you didn't feel pain, your life would be so much worse, right? If you're standing, if you're camping, you're out camping and there's a fire, and you're standing and your hand's in the fire, you want to feel pain.
Yeah.
Right? Because, people with leprosy, they don't feel pain, right? Because they have damaged nerves. A person with leprosy will literally stand with their hand in a fire and not know. And then they'll look down and their hand's gone. Right? So pain is a blessing. Now, some people might be screaming right now saying, "Oh, you don't understand," right? No, I do understand. But the key is that you need to understand what your body's trying to tell you. Now, is it your hand's in a fire, or, you're chopping carrots and you've just nicked your finger, right? But of course, if you feel the pain, you take the knife off. If you've got leprosy, again, this often happens. People with leprosy, they'll be chopping vegetables and they'll chop a finger off because they don't feel the pain quick enough, right? So, it's all about understanding what the pain is. But the beauty with energy medicine is that it's able to get into your subconscious, so you don't have to work it out for yourself. And it works at that level. So that's a really beautiful thing about energy medicine.
Yeah. And just on the back of what you've just said about this doctor, pushing you to take the pills, or at least prescribing them and pushing them into your hands. I think, yeah, Western medicine and pharmaceutical companies have made a business out of reducing pain, right? And there are some stories that I've heard. Um, I was at um, a gathering in London called Whale Tech Leaders, managed by Hermione Way. And the story of this gentleman really struck me because he had some disc issues, and doctor said, "Sure, yeah, we'll put cement, and this is a procedure, and this is costing so much." And then he said, "Okay, fine. And then what's happening next?" "Oh, well, we'll do our best, but sometimes every 5 years you'll have to come back, and we'll do more operations, etc." And this gentleman managed to get his discs all right and just worked a lot on his nervous system and all of that. But what he was shocked about, and all the audience during this conference, was that there's a business of treating some issues that are not long lasting, and it's coming down to at the pill level, just taking pills just to calm down the pain at the short term level. And you have also some surgeries that may treat things at the short level, and these are a lot harder to just to cancel. Right? You had a surgery,
Mm.
you had a surgery, it's done, and you may have to suffer having more surgeries for the rest of your life. And so what I'm trying to say here is not to not have the surgery, because again, every situation is different, but there's so many other ways to get by and to nip in the bud this pain, or not nip in the bud, they're already there, but to to just get rid of this debilitating pain you're having. And so the big message here is, do not just believe the hype. Just don't go to just the flow of take the pills, do the surgery. Just there are so many more options right now. This is quite a blessing. 20 years back, 30 years back, honestly,
Mm.
you had no choice but just following the Western medicine way. Nothing would be even possible to to think about. But now you have a possibility. So yeah, that's amazing in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk about pain relief, just one example. If someone's really struggling to get a night's sleep because they're in pain, because you need to sleep to heal,
Oh
right?
yeah,
That would be one situation where that might be a good time to take pain relief, right?
right.
Now, obviously, if you're in excruciating pain and you can't live or you can't function, that would be another time. Um, so I'm definitely not against it. But I think you just need to be informed. You need to make an informed choice. And quite often, sadly, medical professionals, they don't they don't take you through informed consent. They say, right, you have to take these. There's no okay. So these are the benefits. These are the potential risks. Right? It's just you must take these, which is a little bit sad. But
I have a story to share. Um, a year and a half ago, I had my first sciatica. And talking about pain, sciatica is pretty high up in the
mm,
in the level of pain you can. I had never had any sciatica in my life, but as sciatica goes, whether I was walking, my shoes were not right, etc. Anyway, the pain started to be very strong in. Don't remember if it was my right or my left leg, but gosh, I had never felt this. And there's this moment where you can't even put your foot down. The pain is immense, and it keeps on growing and growing and growing to the point where um, that night I fainted. I had never fainted because of pain, but I know what it is, and so I
mm,
know. And well, I'm just average. I think I'm not like super strong at managing pain. Like no, I just fainted. So I fell down. Luckily, I didn't fell on a place that was dangerous for me, but I was scared. I had enough. So I know what it feels to be like just feeling trapped in pain. And it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I had taken a pill. Like I didn't want to take too many pills, but I had taken a pill, but the pain was just constant. I couldn't sleep. So that triggered this story. And
mm,
at some point I felt, Roman, you're so stupid. You have healers right now on the west coast of the United States. I have one in Los Angeles, Oakland. I have some in Colorado, not far. Don't Why don't you reach out? And even me, as a founder of this platform, the pain was so intense that, and my brain was wired to just take pills. So I'd taken one, but then I thought, wait a second, wait a second. What if they could just heal me? And I didn't want to talk to them. I just wanted to send them a message saying, please help. And so the first who said yes, called Madeline, I said, Madeline, here's the situation. Just do something. Just sure, no problem. Just relax, stay in bed. I'll do my thing. Now, believe me or not, but the next day my pain was gone, like totally gone. It's not just one pill, obviously. The pill just reduced, and it's maybe a combination too. Who knows? It was a tramadol. I don't know if this is
Hmm.
the name you have in the UK. Um, but one tramadol. I mean, I had taken some before. It didn't do much. Uh, but sometimes, um, I surrendered to the fact that this is working. She's going to help me. Is it some placebo effect? Some people, skeptics may argue, yeah, Roman, this is placebo. Well, when you have so much pain, well, I wish I could do placebo. But anyway, it worked. Period. I had
Mm.
no more pain the next day. I fainted during the night. Now you just reminded me this story because
Mm.
this was insane.
Yeah. So, for someone listening who's in chronic pain and has never tried energy healing and is curious but skeptical, what would a first session through Luminara actually look like, and what kinds of shifts are reporting in people? I mean, you've mentioned a few already.
Well, the way we've designed the platform is such that you would have to fill out a questionnaire so that we know a bit about what you're experiencing. And once you've done that, we have an AI matching system. The idea is not for you to flick through profiles of healers, which could be a little bit overwhelming. So we match you
like
with three,
like a dating site.
very much so, very much so. Yeah. Swipe right, swipe left, and then so you'd be matched with three healers. They're all excellent. Now we've produced high quality content. Think masterclass type of video quality. So the idea here is for you to take the step um, to watch these videos and to feel a sense of connection, a sense of resonance. Um, you feel good. This person looks like she's the one that could help, because I believe it's also part of the healing to feel confident. In the US they call it a lot of safe space, creating these safe spaces. But it's true. You need to heal. You need to have confidence that you can heal, and so it's all about your emotional state as well. And so once you think, okay, I'll work with XYZ, you can book a session right from the website, from the platform, and you can book a healing session. Or if you still have some doubts, you could have a discovery call. It costs $10, so probably £8 or less.
Hmm.
Um, and you'll get the £8 refunded if you book a session within the next 7 days. Otherwise, you just had an interesting call, like a 20-minute call. We did the $10 because we had so many no shows. People are quite
Mm.
uh, inelegant, to say a very kind
I do
word.
it. I do exactly the same with Discovery's calls. Short fee, but if they decide for a full consultation, it's refunded.
Exactly.
So
Perfect. Makes total
great
sense.
minds think alike.
Yeah. I wish we could do it differently, but no, it doesn't work. Um, and so you could have then a session. You'll be doing your session as a client either with your phone or laptop, and just enjoy the moment. Really, there's not much to do. Um, but come with an open mind, be genuine, um, and the quality of the practitioner is such that they will be, um, yeah, they'll be working on you. Obviously, now, as you also mentioned, Lee, it may not be one session, could be a couple, but it's nothing like a long-term therapy. These are actually called short-term therapies. So you can have a package of 3 to 5 sessions, maybe 10 at the very, very most. Um, and yeah, so, and worst case, if you don't feel it's going better after some sessions, the healers we have are very ethical. So you could switch to a different healer if she or he thinks that you're a case that they don't know how to manage quite well. Um, they could then refer you to very much like in a clinic, you have
Mm.
a practitioner that would say, I think you should see my colleague. Actually, what you have is something that's a bit out of my scope, so the first appointment may not work, but the second one may. Um, and recently we've done something quite interesting as well. It's very recent, but I feel like sharing this with you. Um, one of our practitioners said to the community, um, well, I have this case and I feel that I can't do this by myself. She's a bit of a tough cookie. And so he said, who is willing to help me and for us to do to put our powers together to help this woman? And some said, yeah, I have the time, I have the time. So they gathered, it was last weekend, and they've done this. And I'm very excited about the results. But that actually could also be a way to help um, on some pretty complex situations.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things you mentioned earlier was trust, and that trust
Trust.
is really important. It's an unregulated field, and you said that you vet the practitioners before you allow them to be on your platform. What's the process of vetting? Like, how do you actually vet the practitioners?
Yes, that's a wonderful question and very, very fair question. So we do two things. So first of all, I mentioned about this advisory board, right? And they help me doing one part of the vetting. I'm doing the first part, which is checking the e-reputation. Like, is this healer someone that is saying good things, not crazy stuff? Because eventually having this healer on the platform will be having an impact on the brand. So if this
Mm.
person is in love with some really very, very, crazy stuff and a bit controversial, I may not want this person on the platform, regardless of the skills they may have, right? So I'm looking for people that have a good e-reputation. They can have diplomas or not. I'm not going to judge if you have zero diploma, but you have so many healers, and many will know some that have no diploma, but they're very skillful, very
Mm.
much like an artist that draws really well without having
Yeah.
doing any skill. And I look at the pricing. I don't want people that are priced too high because we want to go mainstream. We want to work for everyone. But you do have healers that are very expensive, working with athletes and celebrities and all of that. I look at uh, what I can find, obviously, around testimonials, years of experience. That matters to me. A very young practitioner, I'm less keen. Um, I want to see also the number of hours they can dedicate to this, etc. So I do all the very data, fact-based stuff. And then I have a team of people who are psychics, really. Now, people will hear this and think, I don't believe in psychics. Well,
We're all
I'm,
psychic.
yeah, we're all psychic and we all have these skills. Now, this is real, this is true, and it is what it is, but It's not a matter of whether it exists or not. It does exist. But I'm using psychics because there are things we need to check which are subtle, right? For example, the ego. The one very dangerous thing for a healer is to believe that he or she has this mighty power of healing you. Like, because this is very much an ego telling
Mm,
this, and this is a savior behavior, very dangerous. But you have many healers that may have this attitude, and somehow they may be sometimes um, having some results, and that's the problem because the first results they have that will convince them that they have these powers, and this may actually be very harmful, and this leads to gurus and to crazy people because the truth is, true healers are conduits. They are actually harnessing what we call energy or information for like, and they help direct this into um, into the body of the person, similar to a surgeon that would use a laser. The surgeon is not the laser, right?
mm,
He's using the laser to cut and to cure and to. So the healers are like that. They are harnessing a power, but they are not the power themselves. So ego is one thing we check. We check obviously if they have this ability to work remotely or not. Some are very good at in presence and remotely. Some are less good at just in remotely. And we want to serve people from all around the world, so we care about the how skillful they are in doing things remotely. So yeah, we check these things at a subtle level, and they are essential. So I mean, the pricing is essential too, and so this is this blend of many different criteria that are convincing us to say, let's propose to Joe, to Samantha, to be part of her team because they're truly exceptional and they work with ethics, with purity, with you know, and yeah. So this is the secret sauce. I'm not
mm.
giving all the details, but I think your listeners will understand that's how we do it.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds great. So you mentioned earlier about partnering with Florida State University. What's emerging from the science about how energy healing might influence, the nervous system, inflammation, and pain signaling?
Yeah. So I can't disclose everything around the study because it's ongoing, but I'll give you one, the latest study that has just been released last week from the people that I'm working with, these big foundations. Um, the study was done at the MD Anderson Cancer Center in Texas. It's the largest cancer center in the US, possibly in the world. And so they've been doing preclinical studies on cells and mice. So no placebo effect, right? They wanted to get rid of this because this is the one thing that oftentimes people would say, yeah, it works, but placebo, placebo, which is great. But so they took away the placebo effect and they had healers doing their things at the MD Anderson Center on petri dishes, you know, with cells being attacked by cancer cells, and not just any cancer cells, pancreatic cancer cells, the deadliest. And they've done the same for this poor mice. They put some pancreatic cancer cells inside the mouse, um, and the results were mind blowing because it showed that 50%, up to 50% of these um, metastasis cells were reduced. This is huge. It means that maybe energy healing is not like this magic wand curing things, but it does reduce very significantly the growth of these metastatic cells. And this without touch, and it wasn't remote because they wanted to have all the RCGs on the head of the healers and stuff like that. So science now is trying to figure out how does it work, right? And this is your question, like what is science saying about energy healing? So it seems like really it works at the mitochondrial level, which is the very, very um, root of the cells, and and we know that mitochondrial level there are some light bio
Photons.
photon, exactly, biophoton emitting very, very small, and it's very hard. You need to have very good devices to even see them, but they exist. So it seems, again, this is all very hypothetical, but that it could be through this light, even though it's small, it is light. And so light is obviously everywhere. And so it could be that this is the transmitter through which it goes at the mitochondrial level and then kind of change. But fundamentally, it seems that it's at quantum level, that it works. There's
Mm-hmm.
something quantic about it. And the intention, as we know in quantum physics, intention is changing the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So the intention of the healer, which is let this person heal through the light in a physical manner, would then change some things at quantum field. This is all very new, but the good news is now science is catching up, and scientists are no longer saying this is woo woo, it doesn't work. No, it works. Now, do we understand everything? No, but now that we know that it works, they're gonna get more funding, more research, and we'll figure this out for sure in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm sure we'll be quite knowledgeable about. Okay, this is how it works. Now there is this quantum part, which quantum physics still is mind blowing.
Mm.
We can't get our head around it because it's just insane. But it's probably energy healing is one of these practice which is at the non-quantum field that does influence the quantum field, which is really the one thing that seems impossible. But it seems like this is a practice that does bridge both worlds.
Mm. Yeah. What came to mind when you started speaking then was um, the work of Dr. Emoto.
Yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
his work, the hidden messages of water, where if you um, if you have a bottle of water and you write the word love on it, and then you freeze the water so it turns into crystals, it makes a beautiful crystal, right? Or if you put the word hate on the bottle and then freeze the water, the crystal is really ugly and horrible, right? Or, if you play it Beethoven, it creates a beautiful crystal. If you play it death metal, it creates a really ugly, horrible crystal, right? Well, what's going on there? To me, it's a similar phenomenon, right? Whether it's the quantum field, the 0 point field, whether it's the collective unconscious, whatever you want to call it, sometimes, you mentioned woo woo, right? I always say to people, I believe that woo woo is what science hasn't managed to measure yet, right? Like we said at the beginning, everyone accepts Wi-Fi exists, right? But no one's ever seen it, right? Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? Um, but yeah, interesting. So, Roman, what's next for you?
Well, this phenomena docu-series, um, I think is going to be groundbreaking. And there's nothing like a documentary to create momentum and to create uh, mainstream media and mainstream consciousness, global consciousness, to come to realize, like, all right, this is real. Similar to what Al Gore, Al Gore in the
Mm-hmm.
90s did with The Inconvenient Truth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, for decades, people were saying, uh-huh, sorry, climate change is happening, this is dangerous, does everyone care? And Al Gore was really the first with its beautiful yet simple documentary to kind of have everyone in shock. Like, okay, wow, there's definitely something in the CO2 that is not carbon dioxide that is increasing a lot faster than what what is supposed to be normal, etc. So they want to have the same impact with
Mm.
phenomena, and their science, the 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 results they've got are just no short of really groundbreaking. And I'm blessed to say that we've been chosen as their partner for accessibility. So when you say what's next, what come to mind for me is obviously this docuseries that we will promote, um, and from that, helping creating a world where people can go onto a platform, access to great healers, and start spreading the word. And what I'm very excited about is starting to shift from a, oh, I want to work with Jennifer, she's a great healer, to just go on Luminara, they'll get your back. You'll find a great healer. That may not be Jennifer, but all the healers are good. But we have bandwidth, right? And what is important is bandwidth, because you don't want people to wait for Jennifer to be available, and she may be booked for the next 3 months, before they can have a session. So that's essentially what we offer: trust, a brand you can trust, and a way for people to access energy healing very easily, safely, and effectively.
And do you know when the docuseries will be out?
So they've been waiting for all the peer reviews to be done and over with. Um, I was talking with our friends from the Phenomena docuseries yesterday, and they said it could be during the summer. They're having a podcast soon. They want to basically raise awareness and having people, subscribing, so that the moment they release the first episode, there is a momentum going on. But I think this is going to be an important documentary. Um, these people have been funding science despite the fact that it's not going to make them rich. There's no big pharma behind. They're just doing this for the sake of humanity, and this is very beautiful. And it's
Mm.
going to be really worth watching.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And where can people find you online? Where do you want to send people?
Just go to luminara.care, luminara.care. Um, Check our website, and then when you feel like, let's see the healers that they would recommend to me, click on find a healer, match me with a healer, follow the process, and enjoy the ride, and see for yourself.
Amazing, great stuff, Romain. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the last 2 hours. It's flown by, but yeah, that was really great. And going forwards, I really want to kind of wish you all the best in terms of the site and things like that, because I know from my own experience how well energy healing works, and sadly, you know, the current medical model, whilst it's amazing at trauma care, is failing people on chronic conditions, and sadly, it's more about extracting money from people than it is about helping them heal. Sadly, so yeah, thank you for your time, and yeah, really wish your platform all the best.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. If you're living with persistent pain, one of the most overlooked areas is the role of food, inflammation, and dietary triggers. That's why I created the Pain-Free Plate Guide. It's a free resource designed to help you start identifying whether certain foods may be adding stress to your body, increasing inflammation, or contributing to the pain cycle. It's not about following another generic diet. It's about beginning to understand how your body responds so you can make more informed choices. You can find the link in the show notes. So that's it from Romain and me for this week, but be sure to tune in, same time, same place, next week on Beyond the Pain. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pain. If this episode resonated, please follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone you know who's been struggling. And remember, pain is not permanent. With the right insights and support, you can turn it into power. Until next time, stay open, stay strong, and keep moving beyond the pain.